The popular term lifestyle brand has seen exponential growth in the fields of marketing and branding strategies. As hotels push to utilize the same strategy, we look ahead to see how it will change the standard hotel experience.
For our next moderator, we are lucky to have a man who leads Deloitte's global travel, hospitality, and leisure arm. Another Cornell alumni, this man will lead our panel on the rise of the lifestyle brand, revolutionizing the hotel experience. Please welcome Andreas Scriven.
Good afternoon, everybody, or if my Swiss German is still good enough, grüezi miteinander. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here for this panel today, and of course at YHS, and I think it's a very interesting topic to be discussing given the huge amount of change that is happening from a branding standpoint, and in particular in the lifestyle segment. But before I give a little bit of an intro, I just wanted to invite my fantastic panelists up on stage, starting with Jessica Emde, brand manager at Now brand at NH Hotels, not NHOW, Now, followed by Navneet Bali, the chairman of Meininger Hotels. And then we've got Youri Sawerschel, founder and brand strategist of Creative Supply, and I think also familiar to many of the YHS community. And finally, Alessandro Redaelli, vice president of operations at Paramount Hotels. Welcome. So I will ask each one of them to give you a brief introduction of who they are and the companies that they work for in just a second. But just to give you a little bit of a flavor for the structure of the panel, what we're going to do is, as I said, start out with introductions. Then we'll have about 45 minutes of me firing questions at you guys. And you've promised to answer them very honestly, so thank you for that. And then we'll have about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So get your thinking caps on, and it's a unique opportunity to have 4 panelists like this up here. So give it some thought what you might want to ask them. And we'll break down the session really into 3 key areas. We'll talk about lifestyle brands, but initially start out with concept and concept development. We'll then talk a little bit about product and service and how those interrelate in the lifestyle sector. And of course, I speak at a lot of conferences, as do others up here. And the topic that has come up that often is actually the guest and the guest experience and how that is all being impacted by changes in lifestyle and brands. So before I continue, I'll just ask each one of you to maybe give us a quick fire 30 seconds of who you are, what you do. And being Swiss, I'll keep you to that in terms of time limits as well. So Jessica, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm Jessica Emde. I work for the NH Hotel Group, specifically for the lifestyle brand Now, which currently has 3 hotels in Berlin, Rotterdam, and Milan at the moment.
Thank you. Very efficient. I like it. Yes. Navneet.
I'll take up your extra time. I'm Navneet Bali. I look after a company called Meininger Hotels. It's a hotel-hostel hybrid, which means we sell beds and rooms in the same building, if you like. We have currently 19 hotels this year. We're going very fast. We're building 10 more this year, this calendar year, another 10 next year, mostly in Europe. So it's a very fast-growing brand, and we're excited to be part of this growth. Oops, you got it.
Good afternoon. I'm actually an alumni of EHL, and I'm always happy to come back here. And aside that, I founded a company called Creative Supply, which is specialized in brand strategy. And we have about 35% of our client base that are hotels, and the rest is quite diverse: education, banks, technology.
Hi, I'm Alessandro. I think you all know this mountain and 22 stars for movies, so we do hotels. And on my current role, I'm actually taking care of the operation of the hotels, their performances on a global level.
Thank you very much, and welcome again. So I think part of the challenge that we face when we talk about lifestyle is what is lifestyle, and I think lifestyle means, especially in the hotel sector, means very different things to different people. So are we talking about what Ian Schrager started 20, 30 years ago, and that kind of aspirational lifestyle product, wanting to belong and all of that, or are we talking about lifestyle and how lifestyle is changing, where we're moving from product consumption to more an experience-driven industry and people consuming hotel product and brands in a very different way. And I think, to me, lifestyle means something, and it will mean something totally different for each one of the panelists up here, of course. So, when I'm in New York or Hong Kong, I might want the hotel with the coolest bar, the coolest restaurant, and be able to stay out till 3 o'clock in the morning. When I'm traveling with my 4-year-old daughter, I want a totally different experience. So I think, the lifestyle aspect of it is very, very static. Sorry, it's not static at all. It adapts very much to the experience we're going through. And maybe I can start with you, because you mentioned you work with hotel companies, non-hotel companies, but talk us a little bit about through kind of what you see as the definition of lifestyle in this sector, and maybe what we can learn from what you've seen from others outside of the sector.
Yeah, sure. What's funny about lifestyle is, well, it's a very overused word, but fundamentally, when you buy a lifestyle brand, you don't buy the brand itself, you buy the idea behind the brand. And when you look at many hoteliers out there, maybe I'm a bit controversial here, is they're obsessed with their walls, they're obsessed with square meters, but people don't buy the square meters, people buy the idea linked to this. So I think when you speak about a lifestyle hotel, we are more and more talking about the idea behind it, the lifestyle associated to it. It doesn't mean just the experience happening within the walls of the property.
And outside of it, what does lifestyle mean? Paramount, it's movies, it's glamour, it's all of those kind of things. Is that what Paramount is about? Is that how you define lifestyle?
Well, obviously, Paramount is very well known for movies, and then they do movies since more than 100 years. In Paramount Hotels and Resorts, obviously the lifestyle that we have is mainly linked to 3 elements, which is obviously the Hollywood connection, that's what we are. The Californian lifestyle, because Paramount is Californian, and the entertainment and technology. So obviously, we integrate that in the lifestyle, which is a way of life. I mean, it's how we approach every day. So I think that we want to put these elements, which are quite unique. I don't think so there are too many brands with the Hollywood connection. I mean, not yet, maybe.
But we were talking earlier, you were saying this is not about kind of transporting the kind of the in-your-face movie elements piece.
No.
It's not like a Hard Rock Cafe. It's soft touch, yeah?
To a Paramount hotel, you're gonna see meet movie stars. I mean, you might. But we are not a thematica brand. We link our, as I say, signature elements in a very subtle way. In terms of, for example, we have our next opening in Dubai. We have a check-in area. We have LCD screen, huge all over. So they change environment maybe 3 times a day. So you can see and feel yourself in a backstage of a movie or in a Venice Beach in LA. And then, so it gives you a completely different experience. Then we're very focused on food and beverage, but again, we don't do Californian restaurant, but the Californian touch is there, or the approach of California, which is it's not complicated. Yeah, it's very simple. It's enough. It's fresh, informal. So that's what we are. We're an informal brand, a luxury lifestyle.
Okay. Navneet, lifestyles adapt and they change, right? People get older, they have different experiences, maybe their income changes, there's cultural differences and so on. How do you ensure that your concept, Meininger, stays relevant? How do you think about keeping what kind of is relevant as a lifestyle today, still relevant for you as a brand 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Yeah, so Meininger is kind of aimed much largely at a young population. So the average age of our customers would be, say, 25. Even employees is 25. When I joined the company, it went up a little bit, the average age. But apart from that, it's pretty young. So it's a young concept. It's aimed at a very diverse set of customers because it's flexible. It's as I said earlier, it's a hybrid hotel and hostel, which means you can book a bed, share the room with somebody you don't know, which is a hostel, or you can book a bed like in a classic designer budget hotel. So we have a diverse set of accommodation. But the key is connectivity. What we're focusing on is getting people coming there who want to connect with each other because they want to share, meet other people who are staying in the hotel, as in backpackers, or they want to have local experiences because they're coming there to. So therefore, the location of the hotels are always very vibrant locations, centrally located, very close to public transportation. So they don't need to take a taxi to go to the nightclub at night or to the museum if they're a school group in the morning with their school teacher. So it's a wide range of customers, ranging from school children, age of 16 or 15, coming with a school teacher for a museum trip, or to see the art in Florence, or to, they're doing languages, so they're doing Spanish, they go to Barcelona with their school teachers, they grow up a little more, they come as backpackers, then they are a little older, they come to do a stag night or a hen party, or they're watching their football team play, their other football team in Amsterdam, coming from Man U versus Ajax, so they come and stay with us. Or their families coming for the Christmas fair in Berlin, weekend coming in, they stay with us. There's a 6-bedded room, double bed, twin bed, 2 pairs of bunk beds, family of 5, great. Fast Wi-Fi, 50 megs, clean design, great lobbies with a good bar, lots of place to lounge around and meet each other. So it enables people to connect with each other and with the community. So it's about connectivity and a lot of energy. So I think that's, is something that lasts. Every young generation, we talk about millennials, but at least every generation, as an earlier speaker spoke today, will be wanting to do these things. And it's at a value point which makes sense to them. Typically, mining a hotel is like 25 euros a bed, that sort of thing, right? So it's very, it's really affordable for the kind of customers we're talking about. And, in terms of financial performance, we were talking earlier, I think it's industry leading in terms of financial performance. So it's very investor friendly because it's financially very rewarding to the investor. It's also very customer friendly. I was at a conference recently in Dublin where hostelworld.com, which is one of the OTAs that the Hostel World deals with, and Focusrite, which is as you know, a consulting firm, it talks about research. They've done research called Focusrite Hostels 2.0, just come out. And he had a slide talking about if you stay in a hostel in a sort of regular hotel-style room, a twin room or a double room, it's typically about 30% cheaper than a regular hotel, right? And yet I know that in terms of we lease all our hotels, so I know the rent we pay is market rent, and our rent cover for the 19 hotels we have currently is 2.5, which I suggest is industry leading.
So what you're telling me is that lifestyle's not just good for the customer, it's good for your investors as well.
Good for the customers, good for the investors, and I think in generally good for the industry.
Yeah. Jessica, coming to you, what inspired, I'm not sure everybody will be necessarily familiar with the Now brand yet, because you've got 3 properties so far, I think. Can you just talk us through what inspired that concept, and also, I guess, how you fit a more lifestyle-oriented brand into a more traditional umbrella brand like NH?
Sure. Well, every Now hotel at the moment, the 3 that we have, has like a different lifestyle theme. Now Berlin has the music theme. We have 2 professional recording studios at the hotel. We have a guitar room service, so you can order a Coke and a guitar, please, which is very well received by our guests, and not only by musicians. We have concerts in the lobby on the stage. There's a big stage in the lobby. Then Now Rotterdam has the theme of art and architecture. They do corporations, partnerships with the photo museum. And Now Milan has, the fashion theme. Who would think that? And they have also art as their main theme. And they have, every 6 months, they have a new art exhibition curated by actually a curator who works at the hotel. And this is what lifestyle is for the Now brand. And I think that, like was said before, these are all themes or subjects, topics that appeal like to all ages and all backgrounds. And for the NH Hotel Group, I mean, this fits into their concept very well, because this was like a direction that was missing. They have different brands and they all have different positionings, and the lifestyle positioning was missing, and it fits like a puzzle piece, you can say, because it's working really well.
And is the idea to continue with having individual concepts by property?
Yes, mostly. I mean, lifestyle is the broader theme, the broader subject, but the hotels are always influenced by the location they're in, by the city they're in. In Berlin, music made sense because the hotel is located in an area that's has a lot of clubs, a lot of concert venues, is very creative. They're located between MTV and Universal Music. So it's always influenced by the city, and this will continue to be the case for every new opening. Like, for example, Marseille this year is going to be influenced by Provence. You know, that's going to be the theme, and it's going to be the same for the other hotels as well. Yeah.
Okay. Alessandra, coming back to you, your CV started out quite traditionally, right? You started off behind a stove, basically as a chef, and then went with Kempinski and so on.
The movie Face Off.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Yeah. Now, what has been the biggest challenge moving from, I'd probably describe Kempinski as a more traditional hotel company, I think it's fair to say, into something, I guess, more lifestyle-oriented like Paramount. What did that require at a personal level in terms of a mind shift to feel like you could deliver that lifestyle product versus a more traditional hotel product?
I think having spent, as you say, most of my career in traditional company where we have a traditional experience, I would say. I think the lifestyle brands can give you the opportunity to express yourself and to recognize yourself into the brand that you are actually representing. So to me personally, that's what I actually was looking for. First of all, I think that the brand Paramount is definitely a brand which is recognized all over the world. Now to, I would say, build up a company with the team that we have, an hotel management company nowadays, I think is very challenging and interesting at the same time. As I said before, we have a concept which is quite unique, and it's only the fact that I don't have to put my tie is very good. Like I used to do before, for example.
Judging by all the dress
in our company,
judging by all the dress code hanging up around the school, we're lucky to have been let in, some of us. So yes.
Yes.
Yuri, coming back to you, if we look at the number of brands and especially also lifestyle brands that have emerged over the last decade or so, it's unparalleled. They're just mushrooming up, and I guess the question is, is there a stage where we reach an oversaturation point from a branding standpoint where it's difficult to get the airtime as a brand to stand out and still have an interaction with the customer that they kind of remember and recognize you?
Yeah, it's a question that comes back a lot, actually. Well, we have too many brands, and the world definitely doesn't need a new hotel brands. I think from a customer point of view, it's not really needed. From an investor point of view or from an operator point of view, it makes a lot of sense. This being said, I think a lot of people are not doing it right. For the same reason that they see brands as the physical concept in the hotel. And I pick back to what Jessica said before when she spoke about themes. Themes are good, but they're very dangerous, because what do you do in 5 years? What do you do in 10 years? We know that we can renovate hotels only every, 10, 15, 20 years for the slow ones. So how do you keep the brand alive, right? The brand is not about the product. The brand is about the idea behind it. And I think hotels still don't get that. And if you look historically, they let OTAs come into the market, they let Airbnb come into the market. People who understand that hospitality and travel is not just about walls and square meters. And so I think, yes, there are too many brands. I think the market will not stay that fragmented, but there's going to be some big winners. The people who understand that, a brand is more than a product. And if you take the Standard Hotel in New York, which I think has actually quite a strong brand, even though they have only a few properties, but I would assume most of you actually know the Standard. In-house in New York City, I think they have one graphic designer, one photographer, and one camera guy. Those are 3 people on the staff payroll. They're not front desk and sales and marketing guy. They're just here to create content, to make the brand live, right? And this has nothing to do with the FF&E, right, of the property. So yes, there are many brands, but I think there's going to be a lot of losers and just a few winners who get it right. And the rest will go with Airbnb or OTAs.
Okay. You and I were at IHF last week in Berlin, and I was sitting on a stage not dissimilar to this with 5 individuals who owned or controlled 90 brands between their 5 companies. You're a single brand. Does that give you an advantage? Does that give you clarity of purpose? And how do you see that kind of developing? Is that going to be your focus going forward, single brand?
Yeah, it's very focused, and in fact, this company, Meininger, was acquired by my parent, the one I work for, which is a company called Cox & Kings. It's an Indian travel company. It's the oldest travel company in the world, actually. But it's also listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange. They bought actually a company in the UK, which is in school group travel and education travel. And that happened to have acquired Meininger because it was a customer of Meininger. They used to send school groups to Meininger. And when Meininger, the 3 owners, this company is quite old, 1999, it started in Berlin. So when they sold it, kind of my group acquired it about 6 years ago. And, what I realized was that this is a brand. I mean, hostels hadn't really been, in fact, I never knew about hostels. What I was doing before was I was building Holiday Inn Express in a joint venture. I was in private equity, building HIX in a JV with Intercontinental, building budget hotels. So I got a bit of budget. In my previous life, I had been used to work for the Taj Group. So luxury to budget. In between, I was an OTA and also spent some time at Russell at HBS. So I've been a hotel.
You've done it all. You've done it all.
Right?
Yes.
So then when I saw this, and I'd never heard of hostels as a sort of class, and I still remember telling the CEO of Cox & Kings, I said, buy this company and I'll help you with this brand because it's a gold mine, financially, if you like, which has turned out to be as well. But also, I thought it was an exciting concept and but the key thing was how to make it grow. So I'm answering your question a little roundabout way because I think the potential of Meininger is enormous in terms of growth. But when we bought this company, there was nothing in the cupboard. There's no deals. It has been doing very well. It had 16 hotels. Now we're going to have 43 hotels in 3 years. So it's growing 3x in terms of growth. It's growing at about 35% per annum in terms of revenue and EBITDA growth. Currently, revenue is about 120 million euros. It's going to be about 240, 3 years' time. It's growing very fast. So, our bandwidth is kind of restricted to making sure this is equally profitable. Yep. So in that sense, it's restricted in terms of the brand, because there's huge opportunity. 10 hotels this year across Germany as well as outside Germany, and cities like Milan. We're opening 2, Rome this year, St. Petersburg, Budapest, 2nd one in Amsterdam, 6th one in Berlin, and so on and so forth. So there's a huge potential for growing the brand, and focused very much on this niche, if you like. And also the sector, has also seen a lot of activity. Some of our competitors have been bought out by private equity, 2 of them. I don't mind naming them. They're Generator and A&O. We had a colleague from A&O earlier, bought by TPG. Obviously with the idea that this is an exciting sector. So I think we are quite happy in the sector. We have good results, good performance, industry leading. And given the fact that developers are giving us sites, all right, and increasingly so, we've got a huge development team now focused on mostly Europe, though we are looking at outside Europe as well in terms of geography, including the US, but the focus will remain Europe. Europe's a fantastic market. What I heard at IHF was 0.8% increase in supply next 5 years, 5% growth in demand. So if you're already there and have sites, you should do quite well in the average, and hopefully we'll do better than the average.
Great. Just shifting gears slightly and moving kind of from the concepts to specifics around product and service. Coming back to Paramount, you've obviously got a focus you've got your property in Turkey, and then there's a number of new developments in the Middle East. You also co-brand with residential elements and so on. Yeah. How do you see your product needing to adapt as it grows and moves across geographies, or do you see it as being fully transferable across the globe?
First of all, like Youri was saying, the most important thing for lifestyle brands is to keep update your experience. If we stay anchored to one, and then it might be successful at the beginning, but then it will die sooner or later. And then, as you say, we have so many examples that we obviously don't want to mention here. But of course, we develop our brand in partnership with Paramount Pictures, first of all. because we don't do on our own. But we think that the brand can be transformed and transported in different countries. I mean, we opened a residence branded in Riyadh. I mean, you know, it's not, you know, the most happiest country in the world in a way, but we open over there. So it depends how you go and you enter the market and how you approach the market. So, and that's what we do.
Okay. Jessica, coming back to you, simple question. What's more important in a lifestyle product? Is it the product side? Is it the service side? You're going to tell me both, I know. But, you know, you mentioned, you know, guitar room service and so on. But how do you mesh those two things together right now?
Well, I think, I mean, service has to be the basis. If you stay at a hotel and you order guitar and, I don't know, watch a concert and, you know, have all these great experiences, but when at checkout the receptionist is grumpy and, you know, you have a bad experience, that's all you will remember. And worst case, you talk about it with your friends, with your colleagues, or, yeah, very worst case, you write a TripAdvisor review about it, and, you know, that's what happens. So I think, well, service always needs to be the basis of everything, and on top of that, you can sort of pile the experience and the lifestyle. Yeah, I think that's service is certainly more important than product. But product is important to stay memorable, to create those memories, to create those experiences that the guest will then talk about after their stay.
Okay. Is that true at Meininger as well, which is, you know, more, it's a value proposition in some ways? Does that mean you have to compromise on service, or is it just a different type of service?
No, I think the thing about Meininger, which I find great, is what we call the Meininger spirit.
Yeah.
Really, it's about the employees, you know. We talked about, it's not the product. Yes, the design is great, the concept is great, it's being pushed out well. Design is very important, how you make it work, because how operationally designed, the room, linked to the market, because you have different types of room types. If you get that wrong, you had it. So it's got to be thought through a lot. Also, I want to acknowledge the fact that our head of development is a graduate of this, you know, school here. Also head of strategy, both are from this school. So I want to acknowledge the fact that you guys have produced some great guys who work for us. Absolutely. In fact, one of my colleagues who's head of strategy was the employee of the year last year, the IHF. Okay. So from this school. So very happy to be here and acknowledge that fact as well. So employees are critical, and they're doing well as well. And not at the corporate level as well, it's just at the operational level. Key is at the guest facing, really. You know, it's amazing how much energy they have. And they're young, and I think the key is, you know, nothing that I did or we did, it's just been the philosophy of how it's been run even by the previous guys, and we've continued that. And that is the young team, they're given a lot of freedom, and it's flexible. You know, the operating manager can decide many things at her level, locally, how to treat guests. At the same time, it's a very rigid structure in terms of what authority they have, for example, on pricing. Or everything is done centrally, so they have a lot of support. But when it comes to looking after, all they do is basically look after guests. There's housekeeping, there's security, and all the guys in the hotel are doing is looking after guests, engaging with them, and you know, that's what our typical hostel feature. For example, in our hotels, we have something called a guest kitchen, right? Which is a very hostel kind of feature, which means you can cook your own meal. So we'll serve you pasta, you can cook it, take it into the lobby, share it with others. You know, there's free Wi-Fi, fast Wi-Fi, all the stuff that people want. But you can also be eating in the lobby, but you cook your own meal. We don't have restaurants as such, except for breakfast. So the whole environment is something which has a high energy in it, and the staff has to be very energetic. And it comes through. And you know, some of our competitors have acknowledged that. They say, why do you do so much better than us? When you go, you can feel it. You go into the lobby, and they've come and told me that. What's the secret? And I think the secret is engagement with your teams. You know, I spend a lot of time myself, but also the team. Sometimes partying with them. You know, they're young people, and I feel.
I saw you at 1:30 last week in your property in Berlin. 1:30 a.m. That is, and he was still partying. So.
And so were you, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's
I prefer not to comment. I just heard.
You know, I think many of the EHL staff, I've met many people here who were there as well.
Yeah.
So we have this, anyway, it's great fun. It's also a fun thing, you know, your customers are coming there to have fun. Most of the people who stay in a hotel, yes, they come for school kids are coming to see a museum, but they're actually having fun. It's a holiday with their teacher. So essentially, it's a leisure product. Essentially, people are having fun. So the customers are having fun, the employees are having fun. I think in Meininger, I'm having a lot of fun. So it's a fun, kind of engaging kind of a philosophy, and I really enjoy it. And it's doing well, so that helps.
That always helps, doesn't it? You touched on a little bit kind of this, hotel companies don't get the product piece quite right. They still think in, am I selling 25 square meters or 16 or whatever it is? And I touched on it in the intro as well, this shift from, people seeking a product experience to, a memorable experience that is more lifestyle driven. How would you advise brands that are looking to make that transition in the hotel space to actually be able to achieve that? Because, a lot of brands out there have traded on brand promise around security, around location, around size of the room, that you'll have a distinctly mediocre restaurant in the lobby, all of that. How do you move a brand like that into I guess, the next set of decades?
Well, first, I think hotels are very good at product, but I think they're very good at focusing only on product. That being said, let's take Peugeot, for instance, as an example, right? A car brand. If you close all the factory of Peugeot and you fire all the staff of Peugeot, does Peugeot still exist or not? Peugeot still exists, right? You can restart it. If you transfer that notion to hotels, how many hotel brands still exist when you close down all the hotels? Four Seasons still exists. We know what it stands for. Does Marriott still exist? Maybe it's big, right? So to come back to your question, when you want to really create a brand, you need to think, what do I stand for, even if I don't sell rooms, right? What is the idea behind why am I relevant? If I was a media brand, what would I have to say? So you start by this core idea, and then you do the operations. And suddenly everything becomes much more coherent. Otherwise, you just keep on changing the color of the lobby, and one day it's pink, the day after it's yellow, and one day it's Norwegian design, the week after it's Parisian design, and after 5 years, you're out, and nobody speaks about you. So I think it's a shift of mindset to be able to do properly a brand. I don't know if that answered the question, actually, but...
Well, yeah, I guess that a number of brands have been around for decades, yeah. And I think the industry is changing. It's changing at a faster pace. Can you take a brand that is a more traditional brand and repurpose it for, where we expect millennials to go? And we'll touch on millennials in a little bit, but just, or are there brands out there that are going to slowly die out because they're no longer fit for purpose?
You can, but it's difficult, obviously, because. Take Accor, for instance. I think Accor is a very good example. It's a very, very strong brand. Everybody knows Accor and Ibis. But Ibis sounds a bit, especially if you are French, it's Ibis, you don't want to go to Ibis. You want to go to, let's say, Meininger, for instance, right? It sounds much cooler, right? He didn't tell me to do that. And so if you were to change now Ibis, I think it's very, very difficult. Why? Because the brand is not in the product itself. The brand is in the head of the people. What image do you have of Ibis? And I think, for instance, Club Med has done a very good job over the past, let's say, 15, 20 years, moving from this, let's say, old-fashioned family and friends middle class into something quite premium. Audi has done the same from the 80s, becoming one of the top 3 German car makers. So it's possible, but you need time so that people perception changes.
Okay. Alessandro, coming back to you, how important for, if you're talking about lifestyle brand, is this cool factor, what Schrager created way back when and so on, and how do you ensure that, with Paramount or in the industry in general, that you don't get too distracted by being too cool and you don't forget what's actually important?
I think a lifestyle product is important, as we say, but people actually make the difference in the experience. And to focus on product is good, but mainly we need to focus on talents, people that they're gonna actually make it happen. And this is a part when we do a lifestyle brand or whatever touch lifestyle, it's not only the product, it's the people that are behind it. And then for us, it's very important to find the right talents that they actually believe that not in the brand, but in the lifestyle that we propose, that they can transmit that to other people. And we were discussing before, we have this coming up hotel opening in Dubai. We are looking for 1,500 people. And then we do 2 days.
Sorry, is that an offer to submit CVs to you? Yeah, yeah, okay.
So, and we do 2-day we casting, because actually our terminology are all linked to cinema. So we don't call staff or tea, we call cast. So we do actually casting for 2 days, and we do this in the beach with the DJ. And now, the thing is not to go over, I mean, you can come dressed the way you want. Yeah, I mean, you come in your swimming suit, you come in your jeans and t-shirt, you come dressed with Batman, whatever. But what is important for us is your lifestyle, you yourself as a person, your natural talents. I think that natural talents are not taken into consideration very often. And in a lifestyle brand, you need to take the natural talents of people. And then you have to be able to put them wherever you think they can perform the best. And there, then you have chance to actually transmit that experience of lifestyle or that way of living that you want to transmit to other people. Then the fact of cool, not too cool, of course, is definitely, we don't want to go to the too cool either. But I think this is quite identified whenever we have the people coming into our properties with the proper training and information, where what we can do, what you cannot do. Then we should not stop people of being themselves. People need to be themselves. They need to come as a person, and then, not with the badge, with the name. Actually, we have no badge in our hotels. But, and that is important, that we bring human beings. Someone was saying before, human beings, and then that's exactly what it is.
So, see, to me that sounds like cool. Recruiting on a beach, cool, that works. And
I'm the DJ.
One of the reasons I asked this question is because for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, I don't know who does, I highlighted an experience where somebody was trying to be too cool, and that's the Chiltern Firehouse, where we total service failure, arrogance and snobbery, which is, and it's considered one of the hippest places in London to go, but it's non-sustainable. So it's good to hear that there's kind of that balance between trying to be cool and stand out, but not being, removed from reality and arrogant. So so if anybody wants to read my rant about the Chiltern Firehouse, it's on LinkedIn. Now, just coming back to you, and you touched on kind of individuals, you mentioned human beings. It's still what we're about as an industry. Talk us a little bit through how you empower even the most junior employee to deliver your brand. Is it, you talked a little bit about your spirit, but how does that actually translate in reality? How do people kind of interact with the guest on a day-to-day basis that sets you apart?
I think one is training. I mean, we just opened a hotel in Milan. It's an existing hostel called the Yellow Hostel. We took it over and converted it into a mining. It's owned by the church, as it happened. So we got approvals very quickly. But and I was in Milan for the opening, 16th of December. In fact, I went back and for New Year's Eve, we had a party. And I was talking to the manager, who was Italian. And he'd spent about 9 months in Meininger working. He wasn't in the industry, he came from outside, various Meininger hotels, to understand this concept. Because it's not easily deliverable unless you get it right. Very diverse type of customer groups, school children to backpackers to partygoers. We even have business people staying with us because actually it's quite affordable and quite well located, and it's got all the attributes of a business hotel actually. But it's a very diverse mixture of customers. Operationally, to manage it is a skill, and we fine-tuned our operational procedures a lot. So training is a very key thing in terms of understanding the mindset of the customer, because the front line is really important, delivering. And the key thing, and you're talking about being cool, I think if you offer something as a promise, you've got to deliver it to guests, right? And obviously very important is ratings. We look at ratings we give a bonus to the operational manager based on their ratings that they get on maybe 5 different rating agencies, including TripAdvisor. We monitor it with software every day. And if they don't also respond to a complaint within 24 hours, they don't get a bonus. I mean, they're out for that month. It's a monthly bonus scheme.
Yep.
So the response to the customer, if you like, is the critical aspect of it. And nowadays, with technology, you can monitor it very carefully, and remotely as well. But they handle it themselves. They get the responses, they get the TripAdvisor and all the other comments and the ratings whenever we get it from the software that we have, which monitors it. So they look after guests, and they're motivated to do that as well. So it's a carrot and a stick, if you like. But the key underneath is training and support. And before you open a hotel, you really have to get people to understand how it works. And you just can't pluck somebody out and say, go in. Of course, there's a lot of on-the-job training, and there's an element of that, but at the sort of senior operations manager, as we call them, and the junior operations manager who run the hotel effectively, there's a hardcore Meininger training that goes into it. And what motivates them a lot is the growth, actually. They come to me and say, really, I want to work in Barcelona. I really would love to work in Paris. And they can see that happening in the future. Yeah. And I think that's also what's motivating them and making them feel they're part of they're part of a winning team. So winning is like part of the culture.
Okay. Youri, from a technology standpoint, I think that there's obviously a lot of talk of how we're changing our consumption habits, how we change our booking patterns, shifting more to mobile and so on. But from a branding perspective, what do you see that really works in terms of leveraging technology to interact with customers? Is it selfies on Instagram? Is it what is it?
What we realized worked the most in all the hotels we've launched is actually not digital first. And I think it goes down to what both of you were saying about people, in the sense that if you open a hotel, the first thing you want to do is you want to go meet personally every single shop and neighbor around the hotel. And you want to say, hey, this is my name. This is what we're going to do. We would love you to pass by one day. Coffee is on us. I remember long times ago, we opened a hotel in China. And the first thing we said we need to invite all the taxi drivers for breakfast. So the first thing you need to do, I think, it's a lot of taxi drivers in China. It wasn't in Beijing, so we can afford it. And the point is, you start connecting with people at the human level, and then digitally, you follow up. The relationship that, let's say, even us together have to through. If now I send you an email tomorrow, or chance you reply are so much higher than if I just send you an email out of the blue saying, hey, my nigga is cool, let's talk. Right, so you first want to get that human contact, but then you want to be really good at following up at the digital level. And I think, for me, I would still advise analog first, digital second.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think we heard it during the previous presentation from Four Scenes as well. Sending an email is not good enough. It's actually creating that personal connection. I see a lot of nodding. So. Okay, so I said there kind of be three topics, so the final one is around guests and so on. Jessica, talk to us a little bit about the profile of the now guests. Does it vary considerably between the geographic locations because you've got slightly different concept? And does it also vary from kind of your standard corporate NH guest?
I wouldn't say so much, actually. It goes across all age groups. I would also say different status groups, socioeconomic groups, because it's just, like I said, it's subjects that sort of appeal to all of us, that we, I don't know, we're all into music, we're all into, or on some level we can connect with those things. So I couldn't pin it down to a certain age group, and we also have a lot of business travelers. All hotels are very strong in, have big conference areas. We do a lot of social events, and so we have, just a lot of conference guests and business travelers during the week at least. On the weekend, of course, it's leisure. But it's more about, like Youri said, it's more about sort of you create like an image, a kind of illusion, if you like, of what the hotel is and of what you will experience when you're there. And that somehow I had the experience, especially in Berlin, that appeals to anyone. People will see the hotel on social media. They will see, I don't know, look at an Instagram influencer who stayed there and who posted about it, or also see us on TV, you know, in some on some TV show, you know, that my mother would maybe watch, you know. So it really goes across all groups, I would say, yeah.
Okay. You're picking out one particular group, which, in my humble opinion, almost gets too much airtime, which is millennials, but let's talk about them anyway. How critical are they to hospitality brands? Because clearly they're not the only age group that the industry should be targeting. And what do you think your clients will have to do going forward to adapt their offering, be it product or service, to cater to millennials?
You know, I'm not sure it's about product and service. When it comes to millennials, I think it's about a way of doing things, which may be linked to service, but they're just faster. Things happen faster. I think it's really linked to speed. So I don't think millennials want different, I don't know, hotel, bedroom, or handbags. I mean, look at, you're 16 years old now, they're wearing brands that we were wearing when we were 16, and it's cool again. You know, so I think brands keep on coming again and again. So saying the millennials are completely different, I think is wrong. However, they are born with a smartphone in their hands. So, I mean, they don't have time for, I mean, excuse my French, but they don't have time for bullshit. And when you speak, the check-in is the big topic in the industry, has been for the past 10 years. And everybody keeps on talking about this. People want the contact at the check-in, or we can do it alone. Citizen M has shown, I mean, they have shown the entire industry that you do not need a front desk person, and you still have the coolest hotel in town. So I think this is, when it comes to millennial, what hotels need to realize, it's about speeds and convenience more than, oh, we need to put yellow flowers in the lobby and have deep house music. You know, it's about just, dude, I'm not going to wait in the front desk if I could actually go directly with my phone. So I think it's more about that than the product and services. And you see so many of those new concepts that look good on 3D renderings, right? We saw so many of them. Funny thing, DJ, pool, cocktail bar, but the fundamental behind it, the skeleton, is still the old hospitality. So I think as long as hotels see the service flow and the service process the same way, and they just change the makeup, they will not get millennials. And see what Airbnb is doing. It's not that the room of Airbnb are better. It's just it's much easier to book, same as Uber. So I think it's more linked to convenience and speed. Well, you guys can say if I'm right or wrong, actually, but that would be my feeling.
Well, so that raises the question then, is, you know, the topic of millennials, is it actually about an age group, or is it more about a persona that wants to, you know, consume in a different way, as you've just highlighted? I don't know if the other panelists have a view on that. You're kind of nodding.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. We are currently transitioning to the well, with the check-in. We are introducing the online check-in and online check-out, and you'll be able this year to also choose your room in the Now hotels online. So I think it's something that people will want, or do already want, to have that kind of seamless transaction. But at the same time, this frees up capacities for other services. So the front desk operationally will have, you know, there'll be less staff. They'll have to, their little lines are not as long, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, through the guest relations manager, we just introduced a WhatsApp service. You can contact the concierge or the guest relations manager via WhatsApp and say, hey, I need another towel, or I'm in the city. Can you make a reservation in this restaurant for me? I think you can, by doing these, the online checkout and so on and so forth, you can add more services that are more appreciated. So more personal service that will again create more positive memories is what I think.
Yeah, and I think another area is also around recognition, isn't it, in terms of having traditional loyalty programs versus actually recognizing the guest and so on. Navani, you've talked about kind of your profile of your customers towards the younger end. So do you see that continue to be your target market, or do you see that, as I mentioned, kind of being a persona that you will grow with, and, you know, the next generation, whatever comes after millennials, would just stay at a mininger as well, but you get to hang on to the millennials as they evolve?
Yeah, I think by millennials you mean this young generation, you know, Gen X or Gen Y and Gen Z, as they call it. I think that's a technical term, right? So they, from our point of view, I mentioned connectivity. What we feel is that they want to connect. They want to connect with other guests, so-called sharing, if you like. So the hostel environment creates that connectivity, the way it's designed, if you like. But also technology is a great enabler. I mean, we're looking at technology, and we bought something in Copenhagen from Pandox Urban House. And they had this great piece of technology. And I went for the opening, 1st of January. Remember, I saw this. I said, great, we should have this on mining. So basically, you get your free Wi-Fi, which is fast. And so you know your ID, because you registered. And then everybody knows who else is in the hotel. All right? So, and it's quite, so you can share it and say, listen, hey, I want to go to the pub this evening. Anybody want to join me? So basically, you're connected with all the other hotel guests. So there's connectivity, enabling connectivity, if you like. And in the lobby, big screen, all these messages are being flashed. It's not a secret thing. It's like open thing. Really, do you know a great pub around here? I'm free, I'm alone, you know, and love to go with some people. Yeah, come along. So all that's being flashed. So they're sharing their experiences. They want to connect with each other. So that's the great beauty of mining, or this, if you like, the hostel kind of model. But more than that, I think going forward with technology, I would love to have a tool and develop an app where you can actually look at who's going to be in the room that you're going to book. What's his profile? Right?
Tinder soon.
Yeah, it's like a Tinder of hotels or something like that.
You know, you may want to know. Right?
No time wasted.
You may select a room, pre-select the room, and get checked in to, right? Yeah. So that's possible with technology, and I think that's the sort of thing. You know, I'm being slightly facetious, but the point is that with technology, you can make people connect. And this concept is about connecting people as well as connecting them to local communities. So Airbnb are the experiences now, right? In fact, I used it myself. Last time I was in Rome, I booked an experience for Airbnb. But the same thing, our hotels are doing the same thing. The guy I connected with, it was a cycling trip around Rome, you know, to see all the, how to make pizzas and pasta, etc. And I think I paid about €100 for it, me and my wife. You know. Yeah. And then, so the guy I went to, I said, look, we're opening a hotel in Rome. So, yeah, let me do a deal directly with you. So what we do is we sell tickets like that in mining. We connect people to these kind of experiences. We're not Airbnb, but people stay with us. They want to be connected. And our technology in the future will pre-connect them before they come and check in with experiences like that, local experiences, because people want local experiences. Funny enough, I was in this, on this trip, actually, in Rome. There were about 10 people. It was these, they had these wonderful sort of retro bikes. Old-style bikes, you drive around, and it's great fun. And in that trip, we had 3 people who were staying in hostels in Rome. So I kind of figured that's exactly what people who want to stay in mining will want as well. So it's connecting with local experiences. And funny enough, that's what Airbnb, as I said, is doing. But you can do that through our hotel connectivity or hostel connectivity. So creating connectivity, and I don't think it's a young thing, because even I enjoyed it. Yeah. I'm not a millennial, but I think I'm a millennial at heart.
But, so I'll challenge you slightly on this, if I may, because is it actually about being part of feeling like you belong to something? Because if I look in London, if you look at the lifestyle hotels like Ace or Hoxton or a number of the other ones, you walk into the lobby and they are busy, and there's people that look like a community, but they're all on their bloody Mac, on their headphones, and they're not talking to each other on a human level at all. So is that actually connecting? Or, I mean, it's a revenue generator, so that's positive, but...
No, it's a good point. I mean, you go to a mining or you'll find people, like everybody else, got a screen in front, right? They're texting or they're Facebooking or whatever. But at the same time, they want to connect. So they've already fixed it up with so-and-so to go to a bar, perhaps. And like I said, in our own experience. So they're sharing. They also want to meet people. It's not that they want to be alone with their screen, sitting alone in a bar, talking to the screen while having a drink. They want to really meet people as well. So it's a question of balancing both. So I agree the screen can be a sort of a disincentive because you're sort of in your own world living, but at the same time, I think we create an environment like we have. You can be alone, you can be quiet, doing your own thing, but at the same time, when you want to be open and want to share, because you want to do what you want to do. So the personality, I think, changes with whatever. You've done your Facebooking, now you want to meet people. So the environment should allow you to do that. The design of the hotel should allow you to share that. And the technology should be there. So, for example, our Wi-Fi is there. It's very fast. It's not slow. It's not that you have to pay extra to get fast Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's all, minimum 50 megs.
Okay, so just being aware of time, and I want to give you guys the chance to ask some questions as well. I am going to ask each one of you a question, which I told no curveballs. There's a little curveball at the end, but it's easy. So we've been talking about brands, lifestyle brands, and so on. And as an industry, sometimes we get accused of being too insular and that we don't look at other industries and learn from them. So if you had to point to a brand that is not connected to the hospitality industry, that you think is cool, inspirational, powerful, and that we could learn something from as an industry, who would you point to? And to give you guys a bit of time to think, I'll answer that first for myself. For myself, it's clearly Amazon. Yeah, in terms of the evolution that brand has gone through, how it's adapted to its customer needs, from being a bookseller to, people still think of it as a retailer. It's a huge tech company and so on. So that kind of reinvention and adapting to a rapidly changing environment, to me, is hugely impressive, and is something that we as an industry need to be looking at as well. So you seem ready, Alessandro, so I'll give it over to you.
No, you didn't ask me the question before, it's true. But it came to my mind, Tesla. I mean, it's a company that's at a very a difficult beginning. I mean, they were actually bankrupt a few years ago. So, they came up with the unique, because it's a full energy car, So, and they actually tried and understanding to which audience actually they wanted to belong. And at the end, they said, we belong to those one, not those one. That's why we actually went to bankrupt. And they start to focus on a different audience. And now Tesla, it's everywhere. Everywhere. I live in Dubai, and I can tell you in Dubai, the fuel is not very expensive. Plenty of Tesla and plug-in. So, to me, is a very good. It's design. You have technique. You have everything in this product, and then it's a lifestyle brand. I want a Tesla because I want to show who I am. It's not the contrary, and that's what we do very often. I buy a product because I want to show who I am, not the contrary. So that's, to me, a good example.
We'll come down the line, Youri.
I think I'll pick a very different brand, but for the exact same reasons. Because I think it's very difficult to build a community. Every brand wants to build a community, but it's very difficult to build a community. It means try to have a lot of friends. So the best way is to actually find an existing community and be the brand of reference for them. And the brand I would pick is Nespresso, which has been around for a very long time. Yeah, you have the same suit. And you know how Nespresso started? You could, for 6 months, the only place you could find an espresso machine was in lawyers' office and private bankers. So they only went there. So suddenly Nespresso was the premium coffee options for the people, who have proper liberal, high-paying jobs. And then they went to the mass. And now they're able to charge, I don't know how much a capsule costs, but it's completely insane if you think about it from a product point of view, right? So by tapping into an existing community, they have been able to grow their brand, piggyback on this. And I think it's similar to Tesla, highly intellectual, eco-conscious. So yeah, I think Nespresso for the same reason, actually.
Okay. Navneet?
I'm going to be a bit controversial. I think the simplicity of Airbnb, I know hoteliers don't like it, and I'm a hotelier, but because it seems to threaten, but, I've used it, and I think it's so simple to use, and such a great idea, and all these, so I think, I like that, the way it's grown, and the way it's organized, and the way it's capturing a lot of, creating I think satisfying a demand that was always there.
Okay. Jessica?
I'm going to pick a local Berlin brand. Sorry, can you hear me? Which is Club Mate. I don't know if you've heard of it, but in Berlin, it's like really, really famous, and it's sort of incorporating a lifestyle of exactly the millennials, actually, and the young typical Berliner, and it's somehow risen so quickly within a few years that whenever you see someone on the street with that drink in their hand, it's just a non-alcoholic mate drink. it tastes horrible. I don't know why it's so popular. But they did that very well through social media and through the right people, you know, who were using the product. So yeah, that's the brand I would pick.
Okay, brilliant. So, you know, this is Swiss timing here. We've got 1 minute and 30 seconds left to spare. But, you know, any questions? Okay, number of hands up.
Lots of questions.
End of the day.
Yeah.
Hi, as millennials like to travel more and want to have more different travel experience, how does hotels persuade millennials, as this is like a period or time where Airbnbs exist?
Well, so you've got a fan of Airbnb here, so maybe no need.
So your question is, how do millennials, just let me understand the question a bit better. I was thinking the answer, maybe I'm not.
Sorry. Like, as millennials like to travel more,
Right.
and they want to experience more, more different travel experience, and how does hotels persuade millennials, as this is like the period where Airbnbs exist?
I can speak for my hotel company, because people like to connect and like to share. So in that sense, the Airbnb experience where you have a private room and you know, it's not really conducive to sharing. So at least our model is very much something which they can't probably infiltrate easily. So in that sense, I chose Airbnb because to some extent I think Meininger is slightly insulated from that attack, if you like. So in that's one way, because we obviously enable sharing and having people meet each other in the sort of environment that we create, which you can't get from typically an Airbnb outlet. So that's one way of doing it, I guess. I don't know if it answers your question, but that's one strategy others can employ.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Oh, perfect, right here. Mr. Sawerschel, sorry if I butchered your name. You mentioned that an example with Nespresso tapping into already existing communities, and very similar to how, for example, Amazon is tapping into different communities. What happens if Amazon decides to, for example, start opening up hotels?
I think those guys have to start worrying. Well, they get it, right? Amazon started with the community of book readers who were progressive book readers, and then they expanded. So what happens if Amazon opens a hotel? I think it's going to just raise the bar for everybody. The same way Uber has raised the bar for taxi, and Airbnb is raising the bar for hotel, which I think would be a very good thing, actually.
But just to add to that, I think that the bigger risk is that Amazon will get into the distribution game.
Yeah.
So the OTAs would have to seriously worry about that because of the relationship that Amazon already has, and the trust that Amazon has with a lot of consumers and so on. So, and you know, they've just recruited somebody from one of the big OTAs to look into that specifically. So it's probably going to happen. Questions here?
So maybe the distribution costs will come down.
Yeah, doubtful, right?
My question is also for Mr. Sawerschel. So, together with the rise of lifestyle brands, we also see the rise of a new marketing tool, influencers. And my question is, how can we use this new marketing tool in our brand strategy? I mean, lifestyle hotels are about sharing, about liking, Instagrammable moments, but also about following. We are following Instagrammers and influencers, and we want to visit places where they've been. How can we deal with so many influencers? How can we know which one to choose when we are developing a marketing campaign?
The thing with, I think it's a tricky question, and there's not like a simple answer to it, but the thing with influencers is that half of them don't have the followers they claim they have. You guys all have an Instagram account. You all know how easy it is to buy followers, and the big brands do it because you know you can track that. So I would be careful with that. actually, because I think it's a lot of money wasted from a hotel point of view. Again, I think I would try to focus on more low-key approach, finding people that I know I can really trust and use them as ambassador, rather than trying to find people who have, so to speak, a big audience and rely on them. And I think it raises another question there is, you know, if you go with influencer or social media, it's like going to OTAs. You give away the relationship with your clients. So I think it's tricky, right? Because the more influencers you have, the more visibility your hotel might have. But exactly, is it who are they following? You know, so I would be careful for this, and I would try to really. I mean, it goes always back to this, but be able at the brand level to create a content which is good enough that people want to follow it, which means stepping up the game. And then you actually own your audience. There's this very famous magazine, Monocle magazine, you might have heard. They're not on Instagram, they're not on Facebook, they're not on LinkedIn. They say, we're not gonna give advertising revenue to those people. We wanna be in control of our audience. It's very bold. And I think the big hotel brands have the potential to do it. So I guess I half answered your question, but at least I give food for thought.
Do we have time for one or two more? Or?
Let's say one last
One
question.
last question. There we go. The winner's in the middle there.
So my question is, how are we, the millennials, important in the process of recreating a brand? Because you spoke a lot about recreating brands so that everyone knows us. So how are we are the next generation, what can we do? How important are we in that process? Anyone can answer.
I mean, when you were developing new Paramount concepts, how do you go about that? How do you make sure that the millennial aspect is covered off?
I think we should not focus only on one generation. Millennials is important. I mean, you had maybe you never heard about that, the baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. So baby boomers are born a few years ago. And
you don't matter anymore.
Yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
told you that. Yeah.
And so, of course, you have the millennial generation. I think that we need to look at first on who we want to have, or let's say we take a product, hotel, or not, who we want to sell our product. Based on that, we need to build it up. If you do the contrary, you say, oh, I want to build up something. And then, as I said, Tesla before, you give it to the wrong audience, to the wrong buyer. They will not buy that, they're just not interested. You can do whatever you want. So, of course, to me it's important that you focus more on who do you want to give your products and then build on it. And then, as we said before, millennials, it's this generation where they want things now. And then not only in terms of services, I think in terms of personality. I'm sure you're all here, and in a few years you will finish your school, and then, you might go into, I hope, normally you should, go into working in whatever. So, if I give you a question, what is your objective? How long you want to take to become what? So, if you ask this question to, let's say, someone of my generation, you say, okay, you start here, then we'll see. A millennial say, no, I want to know now. I want to know now what they're going to be in 6 months. That's the difference. Yeah. So, and as you say, there will be another generation. And then, but I think we should not focus on one. It's never good to have one shot. Never. I have to.
Great. So I know all of you guys are keen to know what your challenge is, so we'll get out of your way so you can find that out and work on that. But please join me in thanking this fantastic panel this afternoon.
Thank you. So you're going to take a short break now. We will ring the bell when you have to come back in. So listen very carefully, and like this, you will have all the information very soon. And just one thing, when you come back, you will see a table plan. And you will have to sit according to this table plan. Like this, you will be directly with your group.
This is a very short break, about 5 minutes. Please try to be back about 55. Thank you. Yeah. We'll talk about the floor plan when you guys come back, but yes.